My wife sent me a text at 6:47 on a Tuesday morning. 3 lines, no greeting. You have 72 hours to prove this marriage is worth saving. The clock starts now. Don't waste it. I was standing in our kitchen on Habersham Street, pouring coffee into the mug my granddaughter Molly painted at preschool, lopsided purple flowers and Papa in wobbly letters. I read the message twice, set the phone face down on the counter, picked up my coffee and walked out to the back porch. I didn't respond. My name is Walter Haynes, 64 years old. I taught American history and coached varsity football at Benedictine Military School in Savannah, Georgia for 31 years. Retired 3 years ago. Married to Patricia, Trish, for 37 years. Our daughter Heather is 34, lives over in Charleston with her husband David and our granddaughter Molly, who just turned 5. Molly is the reason I get up on Sundays. For 34 of those 37 years, my marriage was the quietest, steadiest thing in my life. Not exciting, not dramatic, steady. Trish managed the front desk at a dental practice on Bull Street. I came home from school around 4. She came home at 5:30. I'd have dinner started. She'd set the table. We'd eat, talk about our days, watch something on TV. Sunday mornings, we'd walk to Forsyth Park with coffee. She'd hold my arm crossing Gaston Street, not because she needed to, because she wanted to. I need you to understand that. Because what happened next doesn't make sense unless you know what it replaced. There's a photo on our mantelpiece from 1996. Heather's first day of kindergarten. Trish is kneeling next to her, fixing the collar on her little blue dress, and she's looking up at me with this expression, half laugh, half exasperation, because I'd already cried twice and Heather hadn't even gotten on the bus yet. That was us. That was 34 years of us. Trish retired 18 months before the countdown. I'd already been retired a year and a half by then. We had plans. Savannah riverboat tours with Molly, a week at Jekyll Island, maybe the Blue Ridge Parkway in October when the leaves turn. Simple plans. Our kind of plans. 6 months after her retirement, Trish went to a weekend retreat in Hilton Head with her friend Donna Whitfield. It was called Reclaiming Your Worth. She left on a Friday, kissed me at the door, said she'd miss me. She came back on Sunday evening. I'd made her favorite, chicken piccata with lemon rice. She sat down at the table, looked at the plate, and said, "Walter, I need you to stop trying to fix everything with food." I put my fork down. I wasn't fixing anything. I was making dinner. She tilted her head. New gesture. Never seen it before. That's exactly my point. You don't even see the pattern. I didn't know what pattern she meant. I still don't. Over the next few months, the language changed. Words I'd never heard her use started showing up in every conversation. Emotional bandwidth. Reciprocal investment. Holding space. She started a journal, not a diary, she corrected me, a reflection practice. She joined a weekly video call every Thursday at 7 with women from the retreat. The guest room door would close, and I'd hear laughter, then murmuring, then silence, then more laughter. I asked about it once. "What do you all talk about?" "Growth, Walter. Something you might want to try." That landed, not because it was clever, because she meant it. The retreat was run by a woman named Renee Calloway. She had a podcast, Reclaiming After 60, and a website full of testimonials from women who'd found their authentic selves. Trish played one of the episodes in the car once. Renee's voice was warm, polished, absolutely certain. She said, "If your partner can't meet your emotional baseline, that's not a marriage. That's a hostage situation." I turned the volume down. "You don't even want to listen," Trish said. I listened. "I disagree. You always disagree." "I disagree when someone calls our marriage a hostage situation, Trish." She went quiet, but not the old quiet, the peaceful kind where she was thinking something through. This was the new quiet, the kind that meant she was adding something to a list I'd never see. By February, we were sleeping in separate rooms. Not because of a fight. She said she needed her own space to process. I said, "Okay. What else do you say to that?" Some nights I'd lie awake in our bedroom, now my bedroom, and listen to the house settle. 37 years of familiar sounds. The refrigerator cycling. The old oak tapping the guest room window. And, behind that closed door, her voice on the phone. Low. Rehearsed. Certain. I stopped asking about the calls. Stay with me here, because the story picks up speed. The text arrived on a Tuesday. 72 hours. Like I was a contractor bidding on a job. Like 37 years came with an expiration date and someone just stamped it. I didn't feel angry, not at first. I felt something deeper than anger. The kind of tired that doesn't fix with sleep. The kind that settles into your bones and whispers, "This has been coming for a while. You just didn't want to hear it." I went to work. 3 mornings a week I help out at Roper Hardware on Broughton Street, not for the money, for the hands. Cutting keys, mixing paint, helping people find the right screws for their deck projects. Simple work. Useful work. Nobody at Roper Hardware needs me to demonstrate my emotional bandwidth. Earl Dawkins was already behind the counter when I walked in. Earl and I go back 40 years. He was a firefighter, retired same year as me. Big man, quiet voice, hands like catcher's mitts. He took one look at my face and said, "What happened?" Not a question, a statement. I showed him the text. He read it again, set my phone down on the counter like it might break. "She sent this herself?" "I think Renee told her to." Earl went still. "Donna did that same retreat. I know. No, I mean, Donna gave Ray the same thing, a countdown, about 4 months ago. 1 week to demonstrate his commitment. Authentic commitments, those were the words. Ray bought flowers, wrote her a 3-page letter, booked a trip to Amelia Island, did everything a man could do in 7 days. And she filed for divorce 3 weeks later, said his efforts were performative and lacked genuine transformation. Those are the exact words. I heard Ray repeat them twice. Because he still doesn't understand what they mean. I was holding a can of wood stain, couldn't remember picking it up. "Ray did everything she asked," Earl said. "Everything. And it didn't matter. Because the test wasn't designed to be passed, Walter. It was designed to justify leaving." The bell above the door jingled. A woman came in looking for drawer pulls. I helped her find the brass ones. My hands were steady the whole time. I noticed that. It surprised me. Day 1 passed. I came home around 5. Made dinner for myself, soup and bread. Nothing fancy. Trish was in the guest room with the door closed. At 8 o'clock, she came out. "Did you get my message?" "I did." "And?" "I'm thinking about it." Her face shifted. Not anger, confusion. She'd rehearsed responses for tears, begging, maybe yelling. She had not rehearsed this. Thinking about it. "That's your answer to 72 hours. That's where I am right now, Trish." She stood in the hallway with her arms crossed. The hall light behind her made her look smaller than she was. "The clock doesn't stop while you think, Walter." "I know." She turned around. Closed the guest room door. I heard her pick up her phone. Wednesday morning. Day 2. I woke before dawn and drove to Bonaventure Cemetery. I go there sometimes, not to visit anyone, just to walk under the live oaks and the Spanish moss. The quiet out there isn't empty. It's the kind of quiet that holds things, history and endings and people who loved someone and lost them and kept going anyway. I sat on a bench near the river overlook and watched the water move. 37 years. I thought about the night Heather was born. Trish squeezed my hand so hard she left 4 purple crescents from her fingernails. She apologized the next day. I told her those were the most beautiful bruises I'd ever gotten. I thought about our first house on Habersham. The plumbing burst our first weekend. We spent 3 days with buckets and towels, and she laughed so hard she couldn't stand. That was real. I could still hear that laugh if I closed my eyes. I thought about the time she had pneumonia, bad pneumonia, and I slept in a chair next to our bed for 8 nights because she was afraid to be alone. She made me promise not to tell anyone, said it made her feel weak. I said it made her feel human. When did that woman leave? My throat closed sitting on that bench. Not because of the countdown, because I was mourning someone who was still alive, still in our house, still using my last name, but gone somewhere I couldn't follow. That afternoon, around 1, Trish found me in the kitchen making a sandwich. She touched my shoulder, gentle, almost like the old Trish. "Walter, I don't want this to be a fight. I just want you to show me you're willing to grow. That's all I'm asking." For one moment, she sounded like the woman who used to rest her chin on my shoulder while I cooked. My chest ached. Then, "Renee says that a man who can't respond to clear expectations." Renee says a lot of things. The warmth left her face like someone flipped a switch. She pulled her hand back, walked to the guest room, closed the door. An hour later, Trish's sister Janet drove down from Statesboro. I came home from the porch to find them at the kitchen table with tea and tissues. Janet looked like she'd rather be anywhere in the world. "Walter," Janet started. "Trish asked me to come talk to you. I can see that. She feels you're not taking the 72 hours seriously." I looked at Trish. She was watching me the way she'd started watching me, like a student who kept failing the same exam. "I take it very seriously, Janet. Seriously enough to not perform on command." Nobody's asking you to perform, Trish said. A countdown, a deadline, 72 hours. What would you call that? Her jaw tightened. I'd call it finally asking for what I deserve. Janet looked between us. She didn't speak. But I remembered what her husband Frank had told me at Thanksgiving. Quiet, man to man, something's off with Trish. The retreat stuff. Just be careful. I'd brushed it off. I shouldn't have. Janet, I said, thank you for driving down. But this isn't something a mediator can fix. She left within the hour. From the kitchen window, I watched her hug Trish in the driveway. Trish was talking fast, gesturing. Janet was nodding, but her face said something else entirely. That night, Wednesday, day 2, I was reading in the living room. A book about Gettysburg, the kind of thing I used to teach juniors. The house was quiet. Then I heard Trish's voice from the guest room. The door was open a crack. I wasn't trying to listen. But the house on Habersham is 112 years old. Sound doesn't stay where you put it. He hasn't done anything, Renee. Nothing. Not a single gesture. A pause. Then Renee's voice through the phone speaker, tinny but clear. That tells you everything you need to know, Patricia. A man who won't step up when you give him a clear, loving boundary. That's not a partner. That's a habit you've outgrown. But 37 years. 37 years of what? Of you accommodating? Of you shrinking? The countdown isn't punishment, Patricia. It's you honoring your own worth. If he can't show up in 72 hours, he was never going to. I stood in the hallway, stock still. Hands at my sides. She kept talking. Remember what we discussed at the retreat? Donna set her boundary. Carol set hers. Rachel is setting hers next month. The deadline creates clarity. And clarity is liberation. Donna, Carol, Rachel. I thought about Ray Whitfield, a decent man, a good man, writing his wife a love letter and booking a trip to Amelia Island. Filing for divorce 3 weeks later anyway. Because the test was never about passing. I went back to the living room, sat down, opened my book, read the same page 4 times without seeing a single word. You know that feeling when someone solves a puzzle you didn't know you were inside? When the walls that looked random suddenly line up and you realize you've been standing in a maze the whole time? Thursday morning, day 3, clock winding down. I called Earl at 7. I need the name of your lawyer. Long silence on the line. Then, Jim Colbert, Drayton Street. He handled Ray's case. Good people. Thank you, Walter. I'm sorry. I know, Earl. Me too. I sat in my truck in the Roper Hardware parking lot for 20 minutes after that call. Engine off, hands on the steering wheel. Through the window, I could see a woman inside the store browsing the lamp section. Normal morning, normal world. And here I was, about to call a divorce attorney because my wife of 37 years gave me a homework assignment to prove I loved her. I didn't cry. I wanted to. But the feeling was below tears, deeper. It was the sound of a door closing inside me. A door I'd been holding open with both hands for 18 months, holding it open while she walked further and further away. And I just let go. The relief hit worse than the pain. Jim Colbert was calm, direct, and kind. Small office on Drayton with a ceiling fan turning slow overhead. I told him everything. The retreat, the countdown, the phone calls with Renee, Donna and Ray, Carol, Rachel. I've seen this pattern, he said, not this exact scenario, but the shape of it. Someone outside the marriage starts setting the terms inside the marriage. By the time the partner realizes what's happening, the verdict was already written. So the countdown was never a real question, Mr. Haynes. She had her answer before she pressed send. I looked at the wall behind him, a framed photo of the Savannah skyline at dusk. Spanish moss and steeples. My city. Our city. What do? You protect yourself, not to fight, not to punish, because you don't deserve to lose everything while someone else runs out the clock. He gave me a folder. I held it on my lap in the truck all the way home. It weighed almost nothing. It weighed everything. That evening, I walked in around 7. Trish was in the living room. She'd changed out of her yoga clothes, put on the blue dress she wears to Heather's birthday dinners. Hair done? Lipstick. The pearl earrings I gave her for our 30th anniversary. She was sitting upright on the couch with her hands folded in her lap, waiting. She'd staged this. The dress, the lighting, the posture. She was ready for the grand gesture, the apology, the flowers, the desperate promise to be whatever she needed me to be. It's almost time, she said. 72 hours. I know. And? I sat down across from her. The same armchair I'd sat in for 37 years. The cushion worn in the exact shape of me. Trish, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to answer me straight. Not Renee straight, not retreat straight. You and me, in this room, honest. She blinked. Okay. Did Renee Calloway tell you to send that countdown? Her hands went still in her lap. The tell I'd noticed across 37 years, her hands stopping when she's deciding how much truth to give. She guided me toward establishing. Yes or no, Trish? A breath. Yes. Did Donna do the same thing to Ray? That's different. Did she? Yes. Ray did everything right. Flowers. A letter. A trip. He showed up in every way a man knows how to show up, and Donna filed anyway. A man knows how to show up. And Donna filed anyway. 3 weeks later, Trish's mouth opened, then closed. Carol's husband, I said. Rachel's husband. Donna's husband. How many marriages has Renee run this on? She's not running anything. How many? Silence. I'll tell you how many I know about. 5. 5 women from that retreat. 5 countdowns. 5 marriages. How many of those are still standing, Trish? Her eyes filled. Not the controlled tears I'd seen lately. The retreat coached kind that appeared on schedule. These were different. Messy. Frightened. I stood in this kitchen every evening for 37 years, I said. I made dinner. I fixed what was broken. I showed up. Not because someone set a deadline, because that's what you do when you love somebody, and you put a countdown on that. Like it was a coupon about to expire. Walter, I already proved it. Every morning for 37 years, you just stopped noticing. She pressed her hand to her mouth. Her shoulders started shaking. I reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out the folder Jim Colbert had given me that afternoon. Set it on the coffee table between us. She stared at it. What is that? Clarity, I said. Isn't that what the retreat promised? She picked it up. Read the first page. Her hand dropped. She looked up at me with an expression I hadn't seen in years. Not the new Trish. Not the retreat Trish. Just Patricia. Afraid. Walter, you can't be serious. Over a text? It's not about the text. It's about what the text told me. What did it tell you? That you've been looking for a door. And somebody finally sold you a key. That's not true. Then why did you need 72 hours to decide if I love you? You know I do. You've always known. 37 years of showing up should have been enough. It was enough, until somebody told you it wasn't. She was crying now, real crying, the kind that can't be rehearsed, mascara down her cheeks, her hand shaking on the folder. She looked like the woman I married, terrified and honest and completely unprepared for the moment she'd set in motion. I didn't want this, she whispered. Neither did I. The clock on the mantel struck the hour. We both heard it. Neither of us moved. You don't set a timer on 37 years and call it love, Trish. Silence. The oak branch scraped the window. Somewhere down Habersham, a dog barked twice and stopped. Time's up, I said. Quiet, not cruel, just true. I moved into the garage apartment behind Heather's place in Charleston the following weekend. Temporary, that's what I told myself. The paperwork moved at Savannah speed, slow and formal and steeped in procedure. 3 weeks later, Heather brought Molly over on a Sunday morning. We sat on the porch eating grape popsicles, Molly's favorite. They melted faster than she could keep up with. Purple juice running down her chin and onto her yellow shirt. Papa, she said, why doesn't Grammy come to your new house? Grammy has her own house, sweetheart. But you and Grammy always had the same house. Things changed a little. She thought about this. Licked the popsicle stick clean. Grape juice on the tip of her nose. Did Grammy forget to be nice to you? I couldn't talk for a minute, just sat there, popsicle dripping on my knee. Oak trees swaying in Heather's yard. Molly's sticky hand resting on my wrist like it was the most natural thing in the world. No, Molly, Grammy and Papa just need different houses for a while. Like when me and Sophie fight at school and Miss Tina makes us sit in different corners? Something like that. She nodded, very serious. Miss Tina always makes us say sorry after. Then we're friends again. Heather's eyes caught mine over Molly's head. She looked away fast. I kissed the top of Molly's head and held her there. She smelled like grape popsicle and sunscreen. 5 years old. And she understood more about love than a woman with a podcast and a weekend retreat in Hilton Head. The divorce finalized in June. 11 minutes with a judge. 37 years packed into a manila folder and a signature. Jim Colbert shook my hand in the courthouse hallway. You okay? I'm standing. That counts, Walter. It was August when I ran into Janet at the Piggly Wiggly on White Marsh Island. Cereal aisle. She looked thinner, tired. Walter, Janet. She gripped the cart handle with both hands. I need you to know. I told her not to send that text. Before she sent it, I told her it was a terrible idea. I believe you. She wouldn't listen. Not to me, not to Frank, not to Heather. Renee had her. Like she joined something she can't leave. I don't recognize my own sister anymore. I know that feeling. Janet's eyes went glassy. Donna and Ray finalized last month. Carol's husband left the state. Rachel's husband had a heart attack 2 weeks after she gave him the countdown. He's in rehab now. She stopped. Let that sit. 5 marriages, Walter. 1 woman with a microphone. I stood in the cereal aisle of the Piggly Wiggly holding a can of Folgers, and something cracked open inside me. Not for myself. For all of us. 5 men who came home every day to someone they loved. 5 women who listened to a voice on a podcast instead of the one sitting across the dinner table. "How's Trish?" I asked. Janet's composure broke for just a second. She called me at 3 in the morning last week, crying. Said she made the biggest mistake of her life. Said she doesn't know how it went so far. "What did you tell her?" "I told her to call you." "She didn't." "I know." We stood there between the Cheerios and the Frosted Flakes. 2 people in a grocery store with nothing left to say and no aisle that leads back. Some nights I sit on the porch behind Heather's garage apartment and listen to the Carolina dark settle in. The bugs, the salt air coming off the harbor, the sound of nothing urgent. I think about that kitchen on Habersham Street, the chicken piccata, the mug with the lopsided purple flowers. 37 years of mornings where I showed up and never once needed someone to start a clock to remind me why. I don't hate Trish. I couldn't. 37 years of real love doesn't turn to hate because somebody pressed a button on a stopwatch. But it turns into something else, something quieter and sadder and more permanent than hate ever could be. You can't put a deadline on love. And the moment someone tries, they've already answered their own question. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.